On this episode of Insane Throttle, we're going to be discussing this article by the Washington Post, who claims in recent years Iran has outsourced operations to the Hells Angels, a notorious Russian mob network known as Thieves and Laws, and a syndicate and violent criminal group from Scandinavia to South America. I'm here to debunk that the Hells Angels would ever get involved in such nonsense, especially being the Hells Angels are one of the most patriotic clubs in the United States. And this media has run amok now on Insane Throttle.
Ride or die, 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 fly. Know that they ride or die. Call these brothers my guys, know that they fly. Know that they ride or die. I keep
Yeah, you heard it right. That is what the Washington Post is saying. They put that article out, which I'm going to show you some of that article, not all of it, because I'm not going to go through all the BS that it has in there. What I can tell you, though, is I couldn't believe it when I read some of this stuff. This is how much that the media has run amok. It really has. And what's even worse is people are going to actually believe that this is the case because the media wrote it. And a lot of people, they don't use their brains. But what I can tell you is the Hells Angels are one of the most patriotic clubs that are here in the United States. And I know they wouldn't allow something like this to happen even in their overseas charters. So it's just there to bring eyes on what this story is trying to tell you, I guess. But it was really discerning to see something like this. And I hope the Hells Angels take them to court, man, for smearing their name. The clubs have to deal with a lot of RICO issues here in the United States. Something like this just ups the ante on them for no reason whatsoever. When it becomes international type of deal, you have stuff like the CIA, NSA. It's just like way out there. This is just a dang club, man. They're not international criminals getting in bed with a regime that's intolerable, man. It really, go get them is what I say. Here's the article. And of course, I'll have the link in the description. And this is from the Washington Post. It is about a 24-minute listen if you want to listen to it over there. Its title is Iran Turns to Hells Angels. See how it has the Hells Angels first and other criminal gangs, the target critics. Right there, what it's telling you is the Hells Angels are a criminal organization. But more importantly, they're using their notoriety to get eyes on the article. And it goes on to say within the title of this stupid article, Iran has cultivated ties with criminal networks in the West to carry out a recent wave of violent plots in the United States. I can guarantee you whatsoever that no Hells Angel here in the United States is even... See how it is upset? It should upset you too. They are not involved in anything here in the United States. It's all horse crap. Now then they got this deal. But this story was by Greg Miller, I can't even pronounce the last name, and Kate Brown. Where is your proof that the Hells Angels were involved in anything to do with Iran? That's what I would do, is ask these three so-called reporters their evidence. Now, it goes on to saying, again, I'm not going to read all of this because it's a long blah, blah, blah. London, this was out of in the months before his attackers tracked him down. The exiled Iranian journalist had been moved in and out of safe houses by London's Metropolitan Police, given a secret way to signal rescue units, and had monitoring devices. Right off the bat, you're trying to say that the Hells Angels are trying to get at reporters. That is unreal right there, man. It really is. And normal people would believe something like this because they don't do their own research. But if you knew any history of the Hells Angels, you would know that, come on, in Vietnam, they wanted to send a crackpot team over to Vietnam that were Hells Angels to help the government of the United States. It goes on to say British authorities had done even more to protect Iran International, the London-based satellite news channel that airs the weekly program of the journalists, has built an audience of millions in Iran despite being outlawed by the Islamic Republic. It goes on about this incident, and senior security officials said that the use of criminal proxies is now what they're trying to bring in the Hells Angels as on an international basis. By governments has compounded the difficulty of protecting those who have sought refuge in the United States, Europe, and elsewhere. Security services formerly focused on tracking operatives from the Russia's GRU spy agency or Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard now confront plots handed off. See what I mean? This is some spy stuff, man. You really think a dude that is riding a motorcycle, has colors on, is involved in some spy level crap? Come on, you got to be kidding me, man. And criminal networks deeply embedded in Western society? Really? Unbelievable. Here it is right here in this article. In recent years, Iran has outsourced lethal operations and abductions to the Hells Angels biker gangs. Goes on to say a notorious Russian mob network known as Thieves in Law, distribution syndicate led by Iranian trafficker and violent criminal groups from Scandinavia to South America. Where is your evidence? Evidence. Not unnamed sources, not off the wall freaking talking. Where is your evidence that the Hells Angels were involved in anything in the United States at the direction of Iran? This story reveals new details about how Iran has cultivated and exploited connections to criminal networks that are behind a recent wave of violent plots orchestrated by elites in the IRGC. Really? Claiming that anybody from the Hells Angels is working with them? My goodness. You guys have some gonads, man, trying to put out a club's name in connection with Iran. And again, I hope they take you to court for the biggest defamation suit there is. Because, you know, you have this deal, your motto, the Washington Post, democracy dies in darkness. No, this is how it dies. By how the media lies and the propaganda that it shoots out. Then it goes on to say about a hitman, criminal underworld, blah, blah, blah. It says a former Iranian military officer living under an assumed identity in Maryland, an exiled Iranian American journalist. It goes on and on and on about stuff. And again, I'm going to put the link to this article because I really don't want to go into everything else. It's a comedy type of situation with this one, but I didn't see anybody else cover this story, and I really think everybody else should pick up on this. And I do again encourage the Hells Angels to really go after the Washington Post, because as you know, you do not want to be tied to something at that level. I'm talking, this is cloak and dagger stuff, man. You know, it's bad enough that the FBI, ATF, DEA are always hounding the Hells Angels and other clubs, but when you get at the national security administration and the CIA and having your members being connected to something like that in the Middle East, it's just abhorrent that the so-called news media would say something like that. And we all know here in the United States that you'd never let that happen here in the States, where one of your members are working with people like that. I don't think you would even let members from your other countries work with people like that, because that's just not what the Hells Angels or motorcycle clubs or one percenters are all about, man. They're out about partying. Yeah, they get into some stupid stuff from time to time, but nothing, absolutely nothing at the level that these people are talking about. I think it's just abhorrent. And let me know in the comments section what you all think about this. I just think the Hells Angels should go after him. I think this is horse crock, and there needs to be a retraction from the Washington Post. There really does. There needs to be a retraction.